Welcome to the Center of Destiny podcast, a sanctuary to amplify visionary perspectives, deepen our shared humanity, and empower the architects of collective destiny. I am your host, Tara Dow. Let's begin. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Center of Destiny podcast. I am incredibly excited for this very powerful conversation that we're about to have with one of my teachers of a very special lineage and wisdom tradition, the Quiero lineage of the high Andean shamans of Peru. And Marilu Shinn is here with us as an evolutionary medicine woman, healer, guide. And I came across Marilu after my travels in Peru, actually. And when I was in Peru, I received a couple very special initiations from direct Quiero people. And one of my prayers was that after those initiations happened, after I made some very powerful prayers up in the Apus of Peru, that I would be able to integrate what these initiations really meant for me and how to work with them on a more conscious, practical level. Because when I received those initiations, I had tears. I felt energy through my whole body. I could feel it in my hands. So I had the energetic transmission, but what was so beautiful was that I prayed to God that I would be able to better understand this lineage, because for years I have been drawn to this lineage. And finally, it was like as soon as I had the initiations, made the prayer, I found these offerings from Marilu Shinn. And so we actually just completed a journey called The Path of the Medicine Woman, where we journeyed through the Chakana. And so we're going to be diving deeply today about the Quiero lineage, why they have medicine and ancient wisdom that is incredibly important as we navigate these times of prophecy. So thank you, Marilu, for being here with us today.
Thank you, Tara. It's such a pleasure to be here with your community and to spread the wisdom and the intentions that the Quiero lineage holds for the times we are in. And so may their wisdom and their energy medicine speak through me. I hope to be a channel and a bridge for them, a Chakaruna. That's how they call those of us that carry this wisdom. We are called the Chakarunas. So the bridges between the ancient past and how that is anchoring back into the ancient future.
Beautiful. And can we begin with how this journey began for you? So what was your experience coming into your own medicine woman? And specifically, how did you come across this lineage?
Yeah, thank you, Tara, for that question. I feel like many of us who live in the West, we are highly trained in terms of conventional education, book knowledge. And so I was studying to become a psychologist, doing a master's program, but I felt like there was a piece that was missing to me. It did not resonate with my ancestors. It didn't resonate with the deeper essence of who I am. And so in a very synchronistic way, I journeyed to Peru in 2005, so 20 years ago. And I will always say that the Quiero lineage found me. Everything in that journey felt very ancient, and it felt like a powerful calling. So I didn't know anything about the Quiero people, but they were present in the ceremonies that were conducted through the Sacred Valley and the Andes. And through me coming into contact with them, they share their transmissions similar to the transmissions that you receive, Tara. The Quiero are people of few words. They pass on their medicine and their teachings through energy medicine, through the Mesa Mastana, through the ceremonies. Those ceremonies are earth-based. So I receive the transmissions through them. And over the years and over my quest and my seeking of their medicine, they led me into this whole path of a 8-year apprenticeship with them, traveling to Peru a number of times, receiving their wisdom. And then as I did my own inner work and my decolonial work to let go of this over analytical mind, it just opened and it blew. Just grew in me this wisdom and in their blueprint. And so with time, again, in my own studies, the whole cosmovision just unraveled and was shared with me over the course of 8 years.
Wow. And is it true that you've been with this lineage, working with this lineage for almost like a couple decades? Am I
20
remembering that?
years.
For 20 years. Okay,
Yep.
beautiful. Wow.
And it's the only lineage that I work with, obviously through the Chakana, through the wisdom that I've been following. They return me back to my own ancestral wisdom from Mexico, but it was actually through their technology, through their wisdom, that I that I begin to remember my own ancestral wisdom and the similarities between the wisdom that comes from the Andes and the wisdom that comes from my ancestors in Mexico. So there's a lot of similarities. The symbology is also very similar, the way they work with the unseen, with the animal spirits, with the three shamanic worlds of perception. So there's a lot of similarities. There's also a lot of differences. But I just began to reweave the ancient red path that was once established in this continent of the Americas.
Okay, so many places to go with the conversation, but let's begin with understanding why is the reweaving of this path and this remembrance so important as we navigate this time on the planet, and really as many indigenous wisdom keepers have referred to as times of prophecy.
Yeah. So there's one thing that those ancient earth keepers had in common, whether it's the medicine that comes from Native American people, from Peru, from Mexico, is that they spoke about a time of transformation, a time of shift, and a possibility for their cosmovisions and worldview to return. And so it happens that we are in that time. Right now is the time when the prophecies are becoming available to us, the different timelines and the wisdom, because they know that the worldview, the values that we have adopted are no longer sustainable, not only for life on the planet, but also for our human evolution. And so they are willing to share their wisdom, because again, they know that this is a time of big collective transformation. It's a time for awakening. It's a time of return. So we are in the great return, where time is kind of moving forward, but also backwards. And so we are again resurrecting those beautiful traditions and wisdom. Yeah, that's why we are feeling this quickening. We are feeling that, something is missing in our lives. And I think, again, that what we are missing, especially in the West, is the reverence, is the rites of passage, is the wisdom. And so that's why we are reweaving this ancient thread.
So in order for us to understand why we need to reweave, we have to understand where we have been fractured or fragmented. And so when we talk about the need to reweave some of this ancient knowledge in these times, we have to first understand where have we been fragmented and where have we been fractured? So this really is the heart of the decolonial work that you're doing and teaching. So for us to understand what decolonizing our minds really means, can you talk a little bit more about that? for
Yes, absolutely. So I will try to be as succinct and as clear as possible, but the colonial work is very profound and there's so many layers to it. But the root of it is the fact that when the colonization of this continent happened over 500 years ago, and really of the whole globe by different countries in Europe, a lot of the ways of living, the ways of relating to the web of life, the way of honoring our relationships and the ancient ones was lost through ignorance and through violence. So a lot of those wisdom traditions had to go underground. They had to be hidden because of the violence, the erasure, and the lack of understanding or understanding through the process of colonization. And so they knew that it was a time of darkness, it was a time of forgetting, again, through European colonization, through the fact that lands were stolen, people were misplaced, displaced. They knew that that time was coming. And so, what is colonization then? Is us remembering that before this paradigm that we are following, this value system, um, there was great wisdom in this continent. There were already well-established civilizations that center the Great Mother, that center life, instead of centering personal profit or personal gain. And so then the process of decolonizing ourselves in our minds is unlearning how we've been conditioned to take, to appropriate, to seek personal gain, to remove the original carriers, and again to center oneself without the honoring of the teachings, without the honoring of the medicine. And so this is again the process of us returning to that wisdom while and simultaneously deconditioning our minds in the ways that we've been relating to, which is very colonial, right? It's very it's centered around expansion, right? Expanding territory, expanding conquest, expanding the desecration that has been happening. And whether or not we are conscious of it, this colonization has been infiltrated in our consciousness. And again, sometimes it's something that we are not even aware of. But we are upholding this paradigm of lack of reverence, lack of integrity, lack of connectivity to the web of life. And so what's happening collectively then is that many of us are remembering this ancient way of being. So it's not so much that, we're going to just return to always and forget about the fact that we need to be provided for, but it has to be from a different template. It has to be from a different blueprint, one of reverence. And so the elders speak of that we center reverence and that we return to being in right relationship with the web of life, with our ancestors. And that's the reason why those medicines and traditions are becoming available now, because they offer a pathway, they offer a way for us to remember the ancient way of being.
Yeah, and I love what you said about how a lot of the ancient way of being is a reverence and a recognition of the Great Mother, which is also represented in this planet, like Mother Nature. And if we want to see the impact of colonization or a colonial mind, we just look at the ways that we extract and desecrate Mother Nature, or the way that women have been persecuted, raped, pillaged, and men as well. But we look at all of these ways that we have treated this earth and each other not as sacred. And that in itself is to me, it's just crazy, but also it's a result of a very different type of consciousness. It's a
Yeah.
very different type of consciousness. And I know that some Native American people refer to it as almost like a sickness. Like there's the word wetiko of like this shamanic sickness that
Yeah.
I really feel like is a root of colonization, which is an energy that is even beyond physicality, that feels extractive, self-serving, narcissistic. It's like this never unending hungry ghost. It's never enough kind of energy. And it's imbalanced. It takes the web of life out of balance.
Yes, it creates a lot of imbalance, not only in the web of life, the body of the earth herself, but also our own lives, bodies, and souls, because it's very extractive. It's a very extracted virus or consciousness or mindset. And so that's why we embark in this colonial work, right? Dismantling within the ways in which we've been conditioned to take without asking for, erasing the teachers, not naming the teachers. All of that is part of this colonial virus.
And it's interesting because in the Chakana, which I would love to talk about the Chakana as a container to hold the Cosmovision and this process. But before we go into that, with the Chakana, we begin in this direction of the South, which is the direction of the soul retrieval, the healing from fragmentation and that non-belonging in our bodies, non-belonging to our communities, to the earth. And I feel like it's in this direction that I see why colonization and why this sort of forgetfulness, if we want to call it sickness, maybe a more compassionate way to say it is forgetfulness, disconnection from the truth. Maybe, just maybe, the colonizer's mind and that energy keeps impacting people, keeps influencing people because it can. Because when we're disconnected from our bodies, when we've been traumatized, when our ancestors have untransmuted pain, right? And that gets passed down to us. The reason why that energy, the colonial mindset works is because people have been disconnected from their wholeness. And when you're disconnected from your wholeness and you're forgetting your value in this world, you're not in your body, you feel disconnected from the earth, you don't have any sense of eldership, no rites of passage, no direction on how to navigate this incarnation, you are very easily manipulated, very easily misguided, very easily used for different agendas, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Well said.
So should we begin talking about fragmentation, that serpent south energy? Is there anything you want to say about why we begin in this direction when you work with the Chakana?
Yeah. Essentially, it's because the South is the Great Mother. It's the serpent, and the serpent is very close to the earth, right? It's very close to this realm. It's very close to our shadow, to our density. So the parts of ourselves that we have forgotten, as you were saying, the parts of ourselves that we have been conditioned to exile in order to survive in this very competitive, very disconnected paradigm. And so through the soul retrieval of the South, we then recover and reclaim our essence and our remembering. We are plugged back into the living web of life and to the Great Mother herself, right? The Pachamama. And so that's why we begin with the South, because again, it's that serpent, is those pieces of who we are that are ready to be reweave back into our bodies and into who we are becoming. Essentially, why we begin with the South.
Beautiful. This journey, you begin in the South, and then the next direction is the west, the next direction is the north, and then you end in the east. So west is the jaguar, or also known as the puma. The north is the hummingbird, the realm of the ancestors. And then the east is the direction of prophecy, which is represented by the condor, which Marilu and the eagle. And Marilu has she has a special affinity for the direction of the east. So just lightly, as much as you want to share, if we begin in the south, can you talk about that journey arc of these other directions and how it completes a journey for someone?
Right. So the reason why the elders use this cosmology, this Chakana, to hold and to represent the medicine of their cosmovision, right? So they use that as language, as a way to represent the core values that inform their worldview. And so as we move to the West, right, that speaks of our relationship to inner power. The West speaks to our relationship of how we be in this realm. And so the jaguar is very much in this middle world. It's the medicine of this ordinary, mundane 3D realm. And it also speaks the fact that in this realm, we need to come from a place of power, but not power over, but it's a power within. And also it helps us to harness our discernment, to know what we are colluding with, and to also give us the sharp insight as to in what ways we are perpetuating power dynamics or power struggle. So that's the West. And then the North is, the hummingbird. And in essence, the hummingbird is the animal spirit that weaves the whole cosmology, that moves in between the realms, a lot more powerfully and a lot more fluid than the rest of the animals. So this little animal alive, the hummingbird, is the great weaver. Is the great weaver of the wisdom. And in the North, we come into right relationship with the ancestors, not only with our ancestors on a personal level, but also with the ancient ancestors of the land that we are in, that we occupy, and through then connecting with this medicine of the North, we come again into right relationship, but we also help to weave and to heal from the fragmentation that we have experienced, that our ancestors have experienced, and that has been passed on, right? This fragmentation, this lack of belonging, of a sense of identity. And then, we close with the East. The reason why the East speak about the prophecies, speak about the return, is because in the East, we open ourselves to the possibilities of new and expanded ways of being, new and expanded timelines that we can tap into once we have done the inner work with the South, with the West, once we have come into right relationship with the ancestors. Then in the East, we are a lot lighter, right? We are a lot more available to begin to co-weave and to collude with possibilities. So it's the rising sun, and it's also the rising of our own destinies, right? It's about reclaiming the destiny that we wish to be, to be in alignment with. So it's about the prophecies, but on a collective level, but it's also about claiming destiny in a personal level.
It's so, so powerful. And as I said in the beginning, I just completed this journey myself through this medicine woman container where we spent a month in each direction. And in the Quiero way, we were working with different stones that represented different prayers and different really energy healings. It was like each stone holds an entire universe. It's pretty mind blowing. when people would come over to my house and they would see my little medicine wheel, I'd be like, I know she looks tiny, but like my whole incarnation is being healed, like in this little thing. And it was just because mine was inside, but some people did theirs outside as well. But what I really love about something that you shared in this container is that there is a very big teaching around how the path of the medicine woman is that you are not trying to heal anyone, right? You're not necessarily learning how to work with the Chakana or doing these things with the intention of, I want to heal people, even though that is absolutely an influence of what you can possibly provide for someone, but not because you're the one healing them, but simply because you have healed these things within yourself. And it is that embodiment that invites others to find that within themselves. So can we just talk a little bit about your perspective on the medicine woman in these times? What role is she playing in the web of life right now? Hello, friends. Before we continue onward with this incredible episode, I want you to know of something very special that is taking place at the end of August in the northern mountains of Bali. This is untouched land at an eco-luxury retreat center overlooking the ocean. From August 24th to the 1st, I am co-hosting a ceremonial passageway, a soul-stirring rite of passage like immersion that will forever impact all of our lives and the purpose that we're here to really embody in this lifetime. So this is all happening during this passageway is for visionaries. It's for artists, creatives, deep thinkers, deep souls, people stepping into their next octave of leadership and artistry. So we're coming together to shed old patterns. We're here to awaken new levels of aliveness and creative life force energy, embodied leadership that will ultimately influence, impact, and expand our purpose, our bodies of work, our love, our community, our confidence, and our life. Visit lightmeetsdark.com. And I'm so excited to journey with some of you up in the mountains of Bali.
That's such a beautiful question. And we can go very deep with this question. So I think that in the past, we have, if we are a medicine woman, if we work with the role of a healer or a space holder, we have this notion or this belief that we are the ones healing the people, right? That we are the ones who are fixing people, who are responsible for the healing of others. But within the Chakana and the way in which this lineage in particularly works with is that it provides the tools, it provides the technology, it provides the cosmovision for oneself to embark in our own healing, in our own clearing of contracts and ancestral patterns. And when we embark in this healing of our own personal destiny or personal timeline, we then embody the medicine. And so it's not so much that we are healing, but that we are inspiring. We are an inspiration for people to get those keys, to access the technology, to access the medicine themselves. So, for me, is this knowing that I can only support, hold the space for people, be the Chakaruna, right, the sacred bridge for people to find their own healing. So in this way, I'm just here to inspire others to embark in their own healing through the Chakana by embodying my own healing. And one piece that is important is that healing is it's not linear. We know that, with the colonial paradigm, we think that healing is linear, that we start at one point and it moves in a linear way and we get to a goal. But we know really that healing is a spiral because we are multidimensional beings. And so we have layers of being, layers of the places that need to be resolved, that need to be integrated, the shadow that we need to face and that needs to be integrated. So we honor that is spiral. It's a spiral, and that every time that I'm holding a container, I had to go deeper in my own journey. Because again, we are multidimensional, right? We are not linear. And so, yeah, that's the beauty of this medicine, that is very much about self-empowerment. And through that self-empowerment, we then just inspire others to follow their own healing, because ultimately, you know yourself better than anybody, right? Each individual person knows themselves better. We may be, we may have an affinity. We may have like similar woundings or similar fears, but ultimately, it's very personal. And again, we get to be our own healers. And that also takes a lot of the weight and the pressure that, oh, we are here to fix. Because if we think that we are here to fix people or to rescue people or to heal, that is a lot of responsibility. It's like it comes with a lot of energy, right? It's a big commitment, or it's a big contract. And when we see it more as, let me inspire others through my own healing and my own embodiment, then not only we lessen the responsibility, but we give the keys and the power to the clients that we are working.
Exactly. And it is more powerful to be guided by someone who truly has healed those fragmentations inside of themselves. Because even when you look at like, a part of being a medicine woman is her intuition. It's her ability to see what is normally unseen, to be a bridge between the seen and the unseen, the psychic realms, the physical realms. And it's like, even someone who is a channel or who is a psychic or who is very intuitive, the quality or the degree of clearness or purity of that channel is going to be a reflection of how much the space holder or the medicine woman has done her own healing.
Absolutely.
We can be very intuitive, but sometimes when we have our own fragmentation, or there's fear-based technology still living inside of us, or we're actually disconnected from our own ancestors, or something is disembodied, the channel in which the information is coming through is just not as clear, which is why it's so funny, because it's like a paradox. It's like it's less responsibility because you're not taking on the healing of someone else, but it's also even more responsibility because you have a responsibility to your own healing if you're going to do this work.
Yes. Yeah, but it takes away this energy of, I had to be responsible, or I had to sacrifice myself. No, you had to be responsible for your own healing to then inspire others. And we can only take others as deep and as profound as we have taken ourselves in our own healing journey, in our own embodiment, in our own authenticity. So the deeper we go and the more honest we do this sacred inner work, the deeper our impact and the deeper our medicine.
Can we talk a little bit more about, I'm loving this conversation about the medicine woman, because I feel like she goes by many names.
Yes.
At this time, a witch, a priestess, an oracle, a medicine woman, right? Or even just like the outsider, however we want to call it. I really feel like in ancient times, there was a reverence and a reciprocity in community for a woman who took on this role of being a bridge, or for helping people complete cycles, or helping people really make transitions on like a soul level, right? Either like giving birth or helping someone transition into the afterlife, transition through a rite of passage from maiden to mother. Like these women throughout time have stewarded the process of the soul, really, in many different ways. Sometimes she did that through herbs. Sometimes she did that through healing medicines, working with the plants. Sometimes she did that through working with spirit or working with the shadow. And I feel like in this modern time, because of colonization, because, I mean, even in my culture, one of my cultures, because I'm Chinese, Tibetan, and Indonesian, and within my own lineage was a colonizer and a colonized. And so like the Chinese in me colonized Tibet, but then China was also colonized by Great Britain. And even knowing that when Great Britain came into China, like priests, priestesses, monasteries, healers, Taoist wisdom, like all of this wisdom was either persecuted, killed, or what's the word that I'm looking for? Like decimated. People had to go underground, like you said.
Right.
And so because of this, we've lost these wisdom traditions. Somewhere along the line, it was unsafe for us to remember and embody what our ancient ancestors knew as a way to navigate this life. And because of that, I really feel the modern day medicine woman is really misunderstood sometimes because she is willing to say the thing that no one is saying, to call forward what other people are too afraid to call forward, to remember what was once lost. And I feel like more than ever, it's actually safe to be a medicine woman. Like we are in the time where we are needed and we are rising. And like, what are some of the challenges that you would say that comes with this path?
One of them definitely is being misunderstood, right? Being misunderstood. And I say that New Age spirituality has done a good job of blurring this sacred path, right? And so sometimes we are misunderstood because people think that, maybe this is such a glamorous role, or, there's a lot of power the wielding of power, that, we are somehow only in the realm of the spirit. But yeah, the medicine woman for me, and especially this new blueprint that is calling me now at this time, is the evolutionary medicine woman. So the evolutionary medicine woman for me then is a woman that is deeply anchored in this realm, right? So that we are not just seeking ascension or seeking to disconnect from the density of this realm and only dwell in the upper world, or the Hanak Pacha, as the Quero call it, but that we are deeply rooted with the shadow of this realm, with the density that is in this realm, to illuminate it, right? So to illuminate it and to transcend it. And so I think that, yeah, what gives us this bad rap is that, it's associated sometimes with the love and light, right? And, or with this new age way of, just wielding power. But no, that we don't forget that we are in service to our collective evolution. And so that's why at this time I'm being called to, embody this evolutionary medicine woman that, yeah, has the clarity and the courage to speak, right? The things that are hidden in our collective consciousness, or to speak to power, or to say the things that many don't dare to, right? And not to create more division, but to illuminate the parts in our collective that need to be illuminated in order for us to transcend them, in order for them to clear them, so that we then become more free and more integrated. So I think it's such a different role, and it's a reorientation that is not so much about helping people to ascend and to disconnect from this realm, but to very much illuminate how we've been colluding, how we perpetuate, right? Like pain or suffering, and to illuminate those shadows in order for us to alchemize them.
Yeah. And I feel like when you're on this path, if you're really on it, there's no way to not bring your full heart, your full spirit, or your full body into it. And I have the image of when we had one of the Quiero allies that you work with your container, and I forget what we were talking about. I think we were talking about the colonization of Peru, the colonization of the Quiero people. And it was like you were so emotional and like you couldn't help it, but like completely not lose yourself, but like in a good way, like surrender yourself to feeling the grief and the pain of what they went through, which is why I feel like that right there is an example of why, like, we need to eliminate or shatter this like spiritual, materialistic, strange, illusion-based idea of what being a healer or like a medicine woman, medicine man is. Like you were saying, like maybe some things are for like the way it looks, or like this glamorized thing. But I really feel that there's a tone and an energy that comes with someone who is truly devoted their life to medicine, like being the medicine and restoring medicine on the earth. It's not to say that you can't have your joy, that you can't
Absolutely.
find beauty. Like that is a part of the medicine. 100%. And it's not to stay in the lower world or to stay in the South all the time, but there is a depth that you surrender yourself to feel. I think that's a really important thing. It's like you're willing to feel the things that maybe some of our ancestors couldn't, or the rest of the world has not,
Yeah, it's safer now. I think we have better tools and we have more emotional intelligence to be able to allow ourselves to feel instead of spiritually bypassing or numbing, right? That we access the feeling and the places in which our ancestors had been numb in order to survive, right? Or have been disconnected from their ability to feel and to name the emotion. Because once we are able to feel it, let it move through our body, then we gain more of our essence and authenticity, more of our energy and power. So yeah, it is actually, the invitation is to feel the emotions and then to use the tools that we have to alchemize them. And yeah, ultimately, is to increase our capacity for love and for joy and for liberation. But it has to be through that process of the personal underworld, right? Go into that shadow aspect and then come holding, like more light and also holding more truth and authenticity, which can translate into living with more joy and more hope.
And the other image that I'm now getting is in the container that we did. We did a shamanic journey and we could have gone anywhere. It was very intuitive, very just like personal for everybody. And in one of mine, I chose to go to the underworld, which I have an affinity for the underworld. But it's funny because when I went to the underworld in that journey, I had like these really cute like pillows and like a nice like sheepskin rug, and I had a picnic, and it was like, okay, like let's bring sweetness to the places that it's needed the most. Like it doesn't have to be so dense, and I can be in the underworld. I can be with the depth of this and not bypass it or ignore it, but I can choose to bring gentleness at the same time. And that's kind of like the hummingbird as well.
Absolutely. It's the nectar and the honey of the hummingbird that we build the safety within our psyche and within our body to journey to the underworld, but to not overindulge, to not stay there longer than is needed. We need to resurface, bring back the expansion, bring back the new consciousness or the new awareness. But yeah, maybe inviting the hummingbird to journey down with us, right? To bring the sweetness and the nectar and the grace, right? So we had to have a lot of grace with ourselves and a lot of compassion, but also a lot of honesty. So it's It's a beautiful sacred dance between the light and the shadow. Yeah, with that, again, without overindulging or overstaying.
Yeah. And can you just tell for listeners a little bit about the three worlds? Because we're referring a lot to the lower world, the middle world, and the upper world. How do the Quiero people see these different realities?
Yeah. And so this is very one of the things that is very similar between the cosmology of Mexico and Peru, or Tawantinsuyu, as it was known in the ancient past, is that the healers, the wisdom keepers, were very connected to those realms. So there's a lot of similarity between the two cosmovisions. In the south, or the underworld, so basically the underworld is the south. That's the lower part of our shadow, as the inner child, as the collective unconscious, right? What Carl Jung will call the collective unconscious, or the shadow aspect. So that's the realm where all of those hidden patterns are held. And then we have this ordinary middle world, which is the Caipacha, and it's the medicine of the jaguar. And so it talks about what is our blueprint, how we are being perceived and how we perceive ourselves. It talks about the dynamics we have, the relationship that we have with the living web of life. So yeah, it has to do with this mundane world, and how we are, again, how we are weaving, or how we are contributing to the well-being of everybody in the web of life. So it really brings a lot of light into what is our contribution, what is our dharma, what is our purpose as medicine women, right? As evolutionary medicine women. What are we here to co-birth, to co-weave in these new times? And then the upper world is the Hanak Pacha, and that is the medicine, again, of the condor and the future. And it's about making ourselves available to a higher destiny for ourselves. Yeah. And so the medicine that we can access to in the upper world is the medicine of the shamanic journey. That's where we retrieve vision and power and possibility.
Yeah. Whereas the lower world is where you go to for the soul retrieval.
Indeed, yes. To recover soul pieces. We may also find those soul pieces in the Kaipacha. So it's either in the lower world or in the Kaipacha, this realm of the relationships we have. Yeah, and with the upper world is more tapping into possibility, tapping into the shamanic journey, maybe even power animal retrieval.
So beautiful. Um, I feel like I'm getting so many visions while we're speaking, and it's wanting to guide the energy, but I'm feeling like there's something about the Apus, the Quiero people, like really, I think I just want to name that there's such a healing presence anytime, the few times that I've been around the Quiero people. Like, honestly, like, and this is such a representation of what embodiment really does. Like when someone's embodying a frequency, and how sometimes that frequency is actually the thing that inspires or heals without them even trying. And like you said, it was like they're people of very few words, and it's true, yet they're saying so much in energy. And I feel like there's just such a humility and gentleness, but also power when I'm in the presence of the Quiero people. And I don't know, I just want to like give this space for you to share anything that you feel called to share when it comes to your relationship with them, their messages for these times. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the Quero people are one of the very few remaining wisdom keepers. They are timekeepers. So they keep timelines. They're able to pierce into the future and to see what the future may hold for our collective. They're very visionary. They work with the coca leaf, which again allows them to access different timelines. And that's why, and hence the prophecy, right? That speaks of the new Pachacute, the new Taripay Pacha, the new earth. Because they are not only time travelers, but they are holders of time that moves outside of linear time, the whole possibility. And so one of the things that I love about their medicine and their wisdom is that they are so deeply committed to preserving and bringing back this ancient wisdom and to share it with those that have an affinity with this cosmovision, with this way. And so, yeah, very few words, but deeply healing in the way in which they hold the ceremonies. It's such an embodied wisdom. They really embodied this energy of stewarding the Pachamama, becoming the stewards of the earth, being in right relationship, having a strong connection with not only the living web of life, but with what it is that is possible for us, for our humanity.
Yeah, it's such a blessing. It's such a blessing to have them here with us, and the fact that they're still generous and more than generous, like inspired to share this wisdom and to keep it preserved is so important. And it's such a blessing.
And to pass it along, right? To pass it along, because again, those are the technologies for the future, right? If we want to secure a sustainable future, their willingness, their generosity to travel the distance. They are holding ceremony in many places around the globe, again, with the intention of helping us to remember our place within the web of life, helping us to remember that there are many ways in which we can be provided for and yet respect life, center the earth.
And I think one more thing about what I love about this lineage is that the entire technology, the entire Cosmovision is based off of energy medicine. And I mean, as someone who has a very big affinity to energy, like this type of container was so beautiful to work with because, first of all, it gives you a container to work with the unseen, to work with life outside of space and time, like you're saying. And the Chakana itself is holding that process. And with the energy medicine, which is so beautiful, it's such evidence, like such proof in working with this medicine that energy comes first. Like before you create anything, before anything heals in physicality, before we birth something into life, we are invited to harmonize in the world of energy, like at the root. And what I loved about this container so much is that on the outside, it looks like, okay, it's like I'm blowing into some stones and I have this pretty wheel and it doesn't look like much is happening, but actually in the quantum field, everything is happening. And what's really beautiful about this work is that what I found is that there's not an expectation that, okay, it's like you blew into the stone, you have a month in this direction, and all of a sudden everything's going to be perfect. Everything that you asked for is going to be perfectly healed within that month. That's not what I'm experiencing or the case of that. But what I am experiencing is evidence in real life every day over time, the ability to keep cultivating and tending to that which I prayed for in the Chakana. There's real invitations and like real evidence, real embodied experience of this is how it manifests in real life, but it's also a choice. And you need to meet the energy halfway. It's not just doing things for you, making everything perfect, but it's inviting you into the embodied state of that which you're working with energetically.
Yes. Isn't that beautiful? That's just pure magic.
It's
And
magic.
yeah, it's magic. And it's the energy of the intention that we hold, right? When we approach the Chakana, the medicine wheel, with a very clear intention, it can show us the places with a lot of power and a lot of grace, the places where we still had to look at this little piece so that it can be integrated. Yeah, it's such an invitation to be fully engaged in the creation of your own destiny and
Mm.
the creation of your own path, and which may change, right? May change. So it also holds the possibility of change that is not set in stone. It's a map into your soul. It's a map so that you return to that center of creation, right? And the Chakaruna, the Nusta, the medicine woman, the Paco, she who weaves her own destiny, she who walks as an embodiment of this technology. And so, yeah, it provides so much possibility for us to see the aspects that we are wanting to shift, to transform within our own path.
Yeah. As we come to a close, I just want to ask you, so this path of your own reclamation of the medicine woman that you are, and also the stage of womanhood that you're in. I think you're somewhere between being a mother and an elder at this point. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
can you talk a little bit about what is that like as a woman to be in this stage of your life? Yeah.
Yes, definitely. I feel that right now it's all about the legacy that I'm leaving, not only for myself, but for my lineage, for my descendants. Like I'm seeing how I am leaving a different blueprint for my descendants. And, while I honor the resiliency, the wisdom, and the struggle of my ancestors, I'm also highly aware of the patterns that I came here to disrupt. I came here to liberate and to open the voice of my lineage, specifically the women in my family. So for me, I just have this awareness that this is now the legacy that I'm leaving. Not only in my work in the community, and as long as the Quero lineage wishes for me to embody and to share their wisdom, because they also have the they call, they know when and to what extent they want to share their medicine. And so I'm here again, not only for them and for what they represent, and the intention and the wisdom that they are holding for our collective. And again, so my role as a Chakaruna is deeply influenced by their own timeline, right? Meaning that to the extent that they want me to continue to show up in this way with the technology, I'm here in service. Yeah, and then the legacy that I'm leaving for my descendants. So yeah, lots of awareness, self-awareness, and yeah, so much appreciation also for the fact that it has helped many of my students to come into their own truth, their own wisdom, their own voice.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I'm so incredibly grateful for the experience that I had with you and for any experiences that we will continue to have. Thank you so much, sister, for this conversation and for walking this path with such integrity and clarity and devotion. I feel that from you so much. And for those of you who really resonated with this conversation and you want to connect with Marilu and you want to find different ways to see what she is offering and ways to deepen in this body of knowledge, you can find all of that information in the show notes to connect with her. Thank you, sister. Thank you so much for coming onto the podcast.
Thank you so much, Tara, sister. I know that we will be weaving something in the future, and I trust that our paths will cross. Thank you to the community here. And yeah, we are in such exciting times. I know sometimes those times can feel edgy and confusing, but just know that we are walking each other back home. And so I appreciate the space to share today.
Wherever you have just tuned into this episode in space and time, I want to personally thank you for your presence here. It is your listening that continues to feed the field of the Center of Destiny podcast. If you're loving these episodes, please do subscribe, follow, rate, and share the podcast to those who will benefit from these visionary conversations. And if you want to stay connected, you can always find me at Tara of Destiny on Instagram or at thecenterofdestiny.com. Would love to connect with some of you on a more personal level and deepen in my ability to support you upon your path. So much love to all listeners, and thank you so much for meeting me in this dimension.